Hi, Gordon Mann for D3hoops.com from Holland, Michigan, where the Hanover Panthers have won a thriller over the Hope College Flying Dutchmen 79-77. Coach, you've had a series of dramatic wins throughout the season. You did it again. You pulled it out, the victory. Take me through two plays before we get to the game-winning play. Harrison Blackledge at the line for Hope, hits the first free throw, and you call timeout to set up the play. Cam Fales brings it up the floor, runs the clock down, and then...
Yeah, so there are a couple things. First off, with the timeout, I felt like our guys were pretty tired, particularly Wes. And so, if that wasn't the situation, maybe we would have played on and just called something that we have, just so that they wouldn't have had time to maybe talk about maybe something they would do defensively against us.
Right.
So that was part of it. I felt like we did need a break there, wanted to collect ourselves. Obviously, it's a little bit tough in this environment. It might be good to kind of make sure everybody understands what we're doing.
Right.
We just, Fales brought it down. We got ourselves to a ball screen with 14 Buck and 35 McKinney. We figured that they may switch it with it being small on small, and so we were kind of slipping Wes out of that. Had a couple different looks on the play. We're going to let Buck drive it, or if he threw it back to McKinney, then he could maybe drive it there on the baseline. That's, I think, where we ended up.
Right. Yep.
And, to senior Corey Munchmore's credit, you got to go rebound the ball in that spot, and did a great job cleaning that up and putting it in for us.
Now, there was a little bit of confusion along press row on the next play. Hope tries to inbound it, ball gets deflected by your freshman, goes back to the Hope player who hasn't reestablished himself inbounds, and it sets you up. And I think they called timeout there, right?
Well, that was how it ended up being scored, yeah. And so
which ended up being big because...
Right, that's right, because, we came out and we actually, as we came out, we tried to run something that we work on. And to their credit, they put 5 on the basketball, long, 6'7",
Corey Stivey.
Yeah, and I knew with him on the ball right away, I was glad we had a timeout. I told Fales, who was taking it out, I said, hey, now look, if you're not sure, let's just take a timeout.
Yeah.
And that's what we ended up doing. It was just gonna be, we were going to try to toss it up to much more in the middle.
Right.
With 1.8 on the clock, we thought maybe, that'd be the best route to go. But when that happened, it was nice to have that timeout because then we could get to something on the board. We drew something up.
Right.
I figured it'd be tough for us to lob, to Corey because of the guy on the ball.
Right.
And so at that point, we set up something where McKinney was going to end up coming off kind of a pin down from Muchmore with if Wes is open, give it to him, shoot it in.
Right.
If they switch, then then Corey Muchmore maybe gets a slip to the basket there.
Sure.
And I've always thought one of the things that in that situation, guys know they're supposed to shoot it.
Right.
It's not like you come off with 6 seconds left and you wonder am I supposed to shoot this or should I drive it?
Right.
Should I drive it and kick it to another guy?
Yeah.
I think there's something sometimes good about hey, we're bringing you off here, catch it, raise up, shoot it. Here's where you're going to be on the floor, knock it in.
Yeah.
And, he asked, do you want me to come to a 2 or a 3? I said, just come to the area that's open. We don't need a 3,
Right.
And so, to McKinney's credit, obviously it's a big-time shot.
How did you talk to your players about preparing for an environment that is not common in Division III? 3,000 people here tonight, a lot of them wearing orange, very, very loud. I talked to your SID beforehand. I said, what's the largest crowd you played in front of? Right. He said, probably 1,700.
Right.
So, and there aren't a lot of places in Division III where you get this environment. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you have a lot of reference points. How did you get them ready for that?
Well, I wish I could tell you that when we did scheduling for the 15-16 season, which would have probably been in 2014, that we scheduled to come and play at Hope last year because we knew we'd be here. I wish I could tell you that. But that wasn't intentionally in terms of how it happened. But my 5 starters all played Hope here last year.
Okay.
And I think that was a real benefit for them. I think they could talk to the younger guys what it's like. Because, you walk into Hope, what an amazing place. Right. What an amazing facility, an amazing fan base. Division III guys, a lot of my Indiana guys, it's interesting with Indiana guys. A lot of these guys have played in high school gyms that seat 5,000, 6,000
so
people.
Wes McKinney said that. So being from the East Coast, that's kind of an eye-opener.
Yeah, and so some of these guys have played games. Levi Buck would open up the sectional tournament in Indiana playing in a gym that sees 9,000. It's a high school gym, right?
Wow.
But just the niceness of it, the arena feel that you have when you walk in there and there's no one there. I think having been here last year probably really helped us.
Right.
Now can you prepare yourself for this stuff? No, you really can't.
Right.
I mean, this team has won on the road.
Yeah.
It's won some games on the road, and not environments like this necessarily, but in hostile, tough environments. Right. And so, I can't say there was anything special that we did. We talked about the fact that there was going to be adversity. There would be some times where the crowd was loud.
Yeah.
We're playing with media timeouts, so I can't always solve it, with saving 6 until the last half, sort of deal. And so, but that's been a kind of in the DNA of our guys all year. I mean, they're pretty tough cookies.
So I was going to say, you've won a bunch of games very close. We had that in our column this week by Joe Sager, breaking down all the games you've won close, or all the games where you've won close because somebody else has missed the last shot. Once maybe luck, 2 maybe whatever, but 6 or 7 now, this is more than a pattern. Not so much for your team, but what's the secret to winning close games?
Well, I think it's probably a multifaceted deal, quite frankly. I think from a coaching standpoint, some of it you'd like to think is the preparation that, you do even in October, right? Up 3 on defense, here's how we handle it, right? And then you draw different things up. Up 2, here's what we do. Okay, hey, if they score to take the lead with 10 seconds left, this is what we want to do versus, if they score with 2 seconds left, here's what we want to do, and here's what we might do, And so I think some of it, I hope, is preparation.
Right.
Some of it is having, I think, smart guys, and we've got pretty smart guys. They can take things that we draw up when we're sitting there for 30 seconds and go out and execute them pretty well.
Sure.
And then, but probably thirdly and most importantly is, you've got guys that are not afraid of that moment.
Right.
You've got guys who kind of want the opportunity to be in that moment.
Yeah.
And so I think we've got some of those guys. And then, once you make a couple, I think there's sort of becomes an expectation that, we've been here before, and we sort of expect this ball to go in.
Right.
And it's really hard to put a value on that.
McKinney makes the last shot. I don't get a chance to watch a lot of Heartland basketball from the East Coast, but what struck me most tonight, in addition to the fact he's just incredibly tough, he's really fast. He might be the fastest player on the floor. You go from down 4 to up 2 on 3 breakaway plays where it's him 1-on-2, contorting his body at some weird angle at some high speed and scoring. It's got to be a real nice weapon to have.
It is. Sometimes when he takes off down the floor, I go and sit down and think, what's going to happen here? And I thought early in the game, he wanted to be aggressive. He wanted to be on the attack. We talked about trying to be on the attack. I thought early in the game, he turned it over a little bit doing that. But, he's a gutsy kid. And you're right. I felt like we kind of went from down 4 to up 2
in a minute.
Quick.
Yeah,
real
in
quick.
About 60 seconds.
Really before Coach Mitchell, I think he was, and I don't want to quite use a timeout yet, and great program, outstanding coach. They run such good stuff, but Wes just made, quite frankly, some great
really
individual plays.
That's HOR in most games.
That's right.
So last question for you. Your kids will get a chance to recuperate, to rest. You get a chance to break down film. You saw the first game. This was a unique environment. Tomorrow night you have a unique challenge. 6'10 freshman, 6'9 freshman, and a sophomore who was first team all-conference in one of the top conferences in the country. What do you do to get ready for Augustana?
Well, I think the first thing we do is we try to get back and get some food and just kind of get off our feet and recuperate. McKinney played 40 minutes, and we generally are going to play 6 to 7 guys is kind of how we do it. And so, I think trying to get rested up and get some fluid, get some food and that sort of deal is important. One of my assistants had Augie. The other one had Wartburg.
Okay.
Those guys have done a lot of prep work already. Once we got to about Wednesday night, You know, our hope stuff was done.
Oh.
Had them working
Wow.
on those two, just preparing some stuff. Haven't talked a second to our team about either of them. And quite frankly, me as the head coach, you know, I knew what we were up against tonight. So I watched the first half of the first game. I know more about the reputation of Augustana than what I do the actual nuts and bolts of what they do right now. And that's not because we take them lightly at all. I think it's because we knew what sort of a battle we'd be in with Hope. But we'll get back to the hotel, and my assistant has Augie will kind of sit me down and start taking me through you know, the things that we need to do. I think anytime you have these quick turnarounds, it does probably alter a little bit the way you scout, as opposed to, you know, with Hope, you know, we were sitting there, you know, Sunday through Friday to prep. It's got to, you know, you got to be smart about what you try to give your guys.
The same's true for them.
That's right. Both teams, you know, are going to probably go over the, you know, the major things, try to come up with a game plan for how they want to handle the major actions that each of us run. And at the end of the day, then it'll be about going out and playing.
Well, we'll let you get off your feet and let you get some dinner too. Coach Jon Miller, the Panthers victorious again in a close one tomorrow night. Augustana for the right to go to the Final Four.